Thank you very much for that speech. We'll now head over to the opposition. Kevin Bonavia, MP. Kevin Bonavia is the Labour MP for Parliament for Stevenage, elected in 2024. He is the co-chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Refugees. Kevin previously served as local councillor in the London Borough of Lewisham and a cabinet member there from 2010 to 2022. You have the ears of the House.
It is a real privilege to be here with you all tonight. And I first want to follow up on my previous speaker and agree with her that it is a real privilege to be part of our democracy. A few months ago, we had the biggest change in turnover of MPs since the Second World War. So I was in very familiar territory with many people from all sides of the House trying to find our ways through the maze that is the Houses of Parliament. But every time you're there, you look up and you see the history before you, but you think you are there for the future. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we should be thinking about the future. Because for the last decade or more, the government of this country has been mired in arguments with itself. It has not dealt with the crises of our time. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have just heard a diatribe against the first 100 days of this new government. 50 more days than the government before last, I hasten to add. In those 100 days, we have done more to start turning this country around than the last 14 years of the 5 Prime Minister-led governments that we have had. Before I set up my case for what this government is for, let me first rebut a few points that Dame Andrea has put before you. She talked about her fears about the economy and what we are doing for that, and that we are trying to fix the mess that we were dealt with. We said before the election it was going to be tough. We said we'd have to make some tough decisions, but we did find an extra £22 billion that had not been met. Yes. Yeah. It is a fair question, and I will set out our vision how we are building the foundations to that. But first you must have confidence that in the first 100 days, this first taste of a new government, that you can see that we are going in the direction that we want to take this country in for all of our future in this room. On the economy, we are taking those tough decisions, not popular ones, but good governments aren't necessarily popular. We don't expect to be popular, but we do want to deliver on the change that we want. On education, we heard about our poor private schools and what they're going through and how our VAT, the VAT on private schools is going to send them mad. Now, these are the same arguments I heard, showing my age now, just when I'd left school in the mid-90s. Now, I went to a fee-paying private school. I had what was then an assisted place, okay? And that was great for me. I had a great education. Then the Labour government changed that. Why? Because it needed the money to fix all those broken schools we had. Most of my friends outside that private school were having their lessons in porter cabins, okay? And the private schools then were screaming blue murder then. And what happened when it came in? Guess what? They adapted, because many of them were poor businesses, right? And so that is what we need to have. We need to make sure that they are good, those are private schools, are good businesses, and they will adapt. Because if you're a good business, you adapt to a changing market. And we will rebuild our schools and across for everyone in this room. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, rail, my next point. You put good timing. So, on that, the fact is, I have to commute, like most of the residents of my town in Stevenage, to and from London most days of the week, okay? Every day of the week, something is wrong, okay? And that, no, I'm going to finish the point, I'm afraid. And that is a result of a broken system. The Conservatives in the 1990s deliberately privatised it in such a broken way. I mean, you try and sort out a ticket across different lines. I can't choose a different company to go the same route most of the time. Unfortunately, companies tell me what I need to do, and profit, and we are subsidising them, by the way, for shareholders, that has got to end. We're putting our money into it, and we expect investment for our railways, and we are not spending all the money that Dame Andrew is talking about. We're waiting for the contracts to come to an end and taking them back into public hands, which the Tories were already doing, but we're actually putting it together to build Great British Railways. And then let me come to what Dame Andrea was saying about attacking our other public utility, privatised utilities, the water companies. Seriously, you know, the fact that we are going after our water companies, after what they have done. If you come to my constituency and all around the country, the sewage has been pumped into our rivers and streams, and they get away with it. And again, we are subsidising them and their shareholders. That has got to end. That is a public service they have for us. And again, I can't choose my water company either. So that should live up to a higher standard. So that is the issues that's complained about us. But in our 100 days, what have we done? Now, I'll be honest with you, we've not really had 100 days, certainly not in Parliament. It's been stop-start, thanks to the previous Prime Minister's knee-jerk reaction in July. That's meant that we've actually had 4 weeks of recess in August, 3 weeks of recess in Parliament. So we've actually spent more away from Parliament than we actually have in Parliament. But in those 7 weeks in Parliament, what have we done? Day one, we got rid of that Rwanda plan. What a nasty gimmick that was. And a costly one as well, £400 million. Now, on that point, well, the EU will be looking at all kinds of things, whether it's right or wrong. Whether it's right or wrong, it matters, is in its actual delivery. But what is certainly right is that we'd already spent hundreds of millions of pounds, and we actually paid for somebody to go out to Rwanda. That was a gimmick. And actually, more worse than that, it gave people false hope about, OK, that's going to solve the boat crisis, which everybody, I'm sure, in this House agrees, is a terrible stain on people having to cross the Channel and Mediterranean, which is where I'm originally from. So there is an international migrant crisis out there, and we can't put our heads in the sand, and we can't say we're Little Britain, as I'm sure Reform would argue we should be. We actually have to be much more sensible about that. So that's why, in turn, that money is being used to recruit. But it's boring stuff. I mean, as a lawyer, I know, actually, it's not how many laws you make, it's actually whether you can enforce them and implement them. So I don't want lots more laws, but what I do want is actually application of a system that should be operating when it's broken. And we need to be using some of that money to actually empty our hotels by getting those cases properly processed, and internationally having a border force and also working with our partners and not be Little Britain on issues like that. But also, we've missed 14 years we've had an absent government that's not been dealing with the crises of our time, whether it's the economic crisis that this country's gone through, whether it was the drama and the trauma that we went through over Brexit, in which we are still going through. We've got to do a review of our agreements with the EU in the coming months and years. Whether it's the housing crisis. I represent a town that was built to deal with the housing crisis after the Second World War. And now I speak to people who live in those homes or were fortunate enough to buy their own homes after the Thatcher Revolution in the early 80s, and they can't get homes for their kids or their grandchildren. I'm dealing with multi-generational households in Stevenage. So we have to take radical action, and we have, as a government, already started changing our planning reforms. With the New Towns Task Force came and met in Stevenage, my hometown, to think about how we deal and build the homes that we really need for the futures of people in this room, and think about the future of your compatriots all across the country who cannot even think about having their own home. Yes?
London's had a Labour mayor for many years now. Mm-hmm. He has missed all of his housing
Yeah.
Shouldn't we judge Labour by their performance in? Why Sadiq Khan
Yeah.
failed to deliver the houses that London did?
Yes, because now he has a Labour government, and that's where we can work hand in hand. So watch this space, and there are examples. There are examples. If you look at, I was in a London borough, which we were building new homes, but we didn't have a government behind us. The government in 2010 took away the subsidies to be able to have more affordable housing. In Stevenage, we had a Labour council that was building new council homes, but we'd like to do far more, and we need a government behind us that's going to back us to be radical to build the homes that the future generation needs. So, the housing crisis, we have to take that head on. And then there is the climate crisis that is facing us. And then we've had, again, the last government, chop change. You know, are we going to try and meet net zero? No, we're not. Are we going to try and, get EVs? Yes, we are. No, we're not. This has got to stop, okay? We have to take bold action, and we are, by creating no, I'm sorry, I must make progress before we come to the end of the speech. By creating great British energy. And we have to work with our partners again. None of this little Britain stuff. We are a great outward-looking nation, or at least we used to be, and let us be that again. And then the international crises of our times. We live in a far more uncertain world. And we have Dame Andrea worried about us sending the Chagos Islands to a China alley. No, I'm not. No more points because I must finish. And actually, I spoke on this the other day. And we did actually, they are not a China, they're an India ally. There's far more to it than this. Look at the detail. So in conclusion, and my point in this, have confidence in this government after its first 100 days, because we have to restore this country's confidence in itself and in its future for everyone in this room and all the people out there that are looking for a government that's going to build a change that we all need. Thank you.